Hey everyone, this is Russ from Retro Game Core. So today we're going to talk about playing LaserDisc games using the Daphne emulator on the RG351 devices. Now you're probably familiar with Dragon's Lair, which is the most famous LaserDisc game, and this used to be out in the arcades in the early 80s, and I totally remember this game back in the day. I remember we once went to a Chuck E. Cheese, I think it might have been for my birthday or my brother's birthday, and I remember my parents gave us a bunch of quarters and we wasted all of them on this dang game because it looked so cool, but at the same time it's super hard to play, especially for little kids. So I'm pretty excited to try to play this again on my RG351M here. So without any further delay, let's jump into it. Now the thing about Daphne games is they're actually interactive movie files, so you have to actually find the DVDs that they originally came on, which are really hard to find nowadays. For example, if you go onto this Daphne wiki page, it'll show you different places you can buy them, but they're like $75 here on Amazon, or you can get them for something like $50 here on eBay, but again, that's kind of crazy. And the unfortunate thing is, even if you try to buy the digital version, so for example, you go on GOG and you buy all the games for 20 bucks, they won't actually work with Daphne, so you need those original files. At the end of the day, I'm not going to tell you where to find these files, but you'll have to find them yourself. Now this guide is going to work on stock firmware, 351 Elec, and ArcOS. I'm going to use 351 Elec for my example, but it'll work on all of them. You're going to need to organize everything into these 3 folders you see here. Now this is just an example for Dragon's Lair. The first folder is just called Sound, and in here you're going to actually put all of the system sound files, and there'll be OGG files and some WAV files. Next are all of the game files. These will be organized by the name of the game, .daphne. So you can see here it's called layer.daphne. And you open it up and you'll have 4 files inside here. One is a DAT file, don't mess with that one. The next one is an M2V file, which is your movie file, and you can see it's a very large file size. The next is an OGG file, which is all your sound. And the last one is a text file that's known as a frame file. And all this does is tells you which frame to start that movie at in order to start the game. And finally, you have a ROMs folder, and within there for every game, it'll have a zip file. Do not unzip it, just leave it where it is in the ROMs folder. That's basically it. So you have your sound folder, and then you have your game folder, and then the ROMs folder, which has that individual zip file. So if you were to add a bunch of games, this is what your folder would look like. You'd have a name of the game, .daphne, and then you'd have all your different system folders. So for example, if we pull up this one here, you can see it has the same files here. It has the DAT file and the movie file and everything else. In the ROMs folder, you can find it has the corresponding zip file there. And then finally, if we go back into that sound folder, you see that nothing's changed there. That's just a single folder with all of the system sounds in it. But yeah, really that's about it. All you have to do at this point is just move this into the Daphne folder that's found on the games or the EasyROMs partition of your system's SD card. So for example, here with 351 Elec, I'll go into the Daphne folder and you can see I've already moved everything over here. At this point, you're actually good to go. All you have to do is eject the SD card and plug it into your device. So here we are on my RG351M running 351 Elec. And you can see here I have a Daphne section. And within here you see all these names. They don't really correspond to a game yet. And unfortunately Scraper's down right now, so I'm not able to scrape all of these names in box art. But it would look a lot better if I was able to scrape everything. So let's test out a game. We'll start with Dragon's Lair 2. And it takes a while for some of these games to start up, so you may not feel like it's working, but just let it load, give it a minute, and it'll pop up. And there you go, Dragon's Lair 2 Time Warp. And each of these firmwares have their own unique hotkeys, and I'll leave a link to that in my written guide down below. But in general, for 351 Elec, L1 will insert a coin and R1 will press start. And if you've ever played any of these games before, they're basically a series of QuickTime events. You basically just have to push the arrow buttons or maybe a single or 2 buttons at the right time. So you can see here I'm just waiting for the yellow flashing thing that'll indicate which direction I need to move into or whether or not I need to hit the sword button, which is the button A. And it's a really fast reflex game, and sometimes it's not very fun because it's kind of punishing, but in general this is how these games play out. You end up doing a lot of repetition and kind of just memorizing how this game works. And these are not long, drawn-out role-playing games. I mean, after you memorize everything, you can probably get through a game in about 10-15 minutes. But you know, one thing about them is that they're almost 40 years old, and they still look pretty good. I really like this Don Bluth style of animation here. So they're really a neat, fun distraction, and they're kind of a cool slice of history. Although admittedly, they are kind of frustrating just to play in the first place, but still, it's kind of cool. Now this one's called Super Don Quixote, and I actually like this one a lot, and part of it is because it's very obvious what you need to push when you're playing the game. It'll show you a big bright arrow or a button when you need to push an arrow or a button, so that's kind of handy. Okay, so I'm going to step away for a second. I'm just going to let these games play out, and I'll just give you a few minutes of gameplay so you can get a feel whether or not you want to install these games yourself.
Cliffhanger, the game that keeps you on the edge of your toes. By controlling the joystick and the action button, you determine the fate of Cliff, a lovable outcast in his quest to rescue one beautiful, breathtaking lady. But one mistake. Jump! Jump!
Command. Tanks in the desert. Use the missiles. Take a left. Orbit right.
Oh no. Which one is it?
Alright everyone, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. At the end of the day, this is actually a very easy system to install. The trick to it is really just finding the files in the first place, then organizing them in the way that your device needs. As always, thanks for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe if you found this helpful for you, and we will see you next time. Happy gaming.